Today's supposed to be 106 in the Bay Area today here in California. It's already pretty warm. So, while the garbage trucks are going at it, we'll try and do a video. There's always some noise going on. So, it looks like Germany is the one that's having the worst drought in Europe at this time. The Rhine River is very low in water levels, and they're having trouble getting the barges up the river. That'll continue until La Nina dissipates into El Nino. And when El Nino gets here, it'll be just the opposite. Flooding in the places that were drought, and drought in the places that were flooding this time. Let's go up here and do a video on mega floods that are coming as soon as El Nino shows up. Alright, global warming has already doubled the risk of California megaflood. A megaflood is not a regular flood event. It is one that occurs over a large area and is much more severe than is normally seen in flooding in California. California experienced a megaflood back in the winter of 1861 to 1862. It was that big and that long. Water filled both the Sacramento and San Joaquin valleys with 10 feet of water. It took 7 months for the water to recede, and 4,000 people lost their lives. Only 500,000 people lived in California at that time. Today, that number is closer to 39 million people. Megafloods only happen every couple of 100 years in California. But now, with global warming, that is likely to change to every 30 to 50 years. And that depends on El Nino and La Nina, whichever one we're on. So everyone's wondering what we're going to do with 10 feet of water in the Sacramento and San Joaquin valleys, the next megaflood, which might even come as early as this next El Nino. This new study has determined that global climate change is really ramping up flooding and droughts around the world, and that those that suffer mega floods are going to suffer them far more than they used to. One mega flood is responsible for a quarter of San Francisco, called the Avenues. The last mega flood, all the silt that came out of the Sacramento Valley came down the Sacramento River and was deposited where the avenues are now. And a couple of big tsunamis pushed all that soil up into the avenues where it is now, and where it's covered with homes, buildings, and several thousand people. So the next mega flood here in California will see major die-off of people and a lot of destruction of homes, such as the entire city of Sacramento, Stockton, and other cities that are in the valley at this time. The valley should have never been built in because, unfortunately, it's part of what is going to become part of a lake. And don't forget how long it takes to empty out the valley after it floods. These rains will be coming from the Sierra Nevadas, as well as the middle of the Sacramento Valley and the coastal range, will all contribute to this mega flood. Now, the way this works is that we get what's called an atmospheric river, which comes from the Pacific Ocean and comes in and just continuously dumps rain, 10 feet at a single event. It can be even as high as 12 feet of rain in one big atmospheric river event, and the rain will continue to fall for weeks or even a month continuously. California's seen weeks of rain in the past, even almost a month at one time, and it did flood Petaluma Valley and other valleys locally. But this will compare to nothing compared to the mega flood that eventually will show up in California. And the population will be reduced by quite a bit, and housing will be almost impossible to find. Now, a lot of infrastructure for draining out the Sacramento Valley has been put in, but not enough to counteract a mega flood. So it'll be interesting to see what will happen when the next El Nino shows up and turns our drought areas into mega flood areas. But all we can do, I've looked all around to see what kind of scars there are in the land from mega floods, but humans have pretty much bulldozed every inch of the mountains and the hills and the valleys in California, so most of the flooding event scars are gone. So while we wait for the next mega flood, we should all do our homework and try and stop global climate change by reducing our emissions, our air, our pollutants, and stop using plastic and fossil fuel. And I do appreciate all your guys' comments on this. What is your experience to where you are? Is your area doomed when El Nino is to arrive? What has happened then? I appreciate the comments, the ups, the new subscribers, and until next time.